What's up, everyone? My name is Sanjay. I'm a enterprise sales rep, have been for the past 8 years. And on the side, I also run a company called AccuSales, where we help startups with executing outbound the correct way. Recently, I actually built an AI agentic application that has an 8-stage process. Essentially, you feed it a list of companies. It goes out, researches the companies, forms an opinion on why they should buy your product or service. It then finds the relevant people within those companies, writes a LinkedIn and email sequence for them, and then it actually reviews its work and then optimizes it if it isn't up to par. And then basically it spits out a CSV with all the messaging you need, so you can just import it into whatever outreach tool you have and then really start sending the LinkedIn messages and start sending those emails. Now, the reason I built this application is if you actually look at like a typical SDR or account executive's workflow, what it usually looks like is, they pick an account for the week or they pick 5 accounts for the week. Then they go on Google, they go on LinkedIn, and they comb through all the information on, what are like the latest product launches? Are there any leadership changes? Why should this company at the end of the day buy our product or service? And most importantly, why should they buy now? And so you eventually, do all this information kind of gathering and processing, and then you form an opinion statement. So that takes on average a few hours a week just to do that work. And then after you do that, then you have to go into something like LinkedIn Sales Nav or Lead IQ or Apollo or Zoom Info to actually find the people within that company to actually reach out to. Once you do that, then you actually have to go into LinkedIn and actually figure out hey, based on the role, what message would actually get this person to kind of stop their day and reply. And so essentially that entire process usually ends up being an entire Monday worth of effort. And before even a single email or a single LinkedIn message gets sent out. And so really what I wanted to do with the Outbound Factory is how can I automate a lot of the kind of processes that are very standardized with LLM calls and have an agent run that process end to end. And then me just being the user validate hey, this is a good output, continue on with the rest of the process. And overall, what I really want to do is have all that research done and the AI just gives me the message and I can just import it into Lemlist or whatever outreach tool that I'm using at that time. And I can start executing against more accounts and actually servicing more clients. So really my goal of this whole thing is instead of me going after 5 companies a week, I can now go after maybe 15 or 20 companies a week. And I can spend most of the time actually being in front of customers versus behind a screen, just combing through Google and LinkedIn. All right, so before I demo this agentic application, let me actually kind of give you a look at what's happening under the hood so that if you actually want to create this outbound factory for your business or your job, you can. Something else is I'll actually link a implementation guide in the description below. This document is something that you can feed directly to any coding agent that you're using, like Claude Code or Codex, and that agent will actually create this outbound factory for you and make it customized for your business or your use case. So as I go through this, I'll also point out all the different technologies I'm using and then why I'm using them, and then all the different kind of design decisions that I made as well and the reasoning behind all of them. So at the very top, we have an Apollo CSV import. The reason for this is I want to make sure that the companies that I feed into this outbound factory and this overall flow, before I spend a ton of money on researching people and writing emails, I want to make sure these companies are actually directionally in my ICP. And I've had kind of a mixed experience with using Claude or OpenAI to go find these companies. It sometimes takes a long time. It burns a lot of tokens to do this broad kind of company search. So Apollo is what I use to find companies. The UI is good enough for me. It takes me 15-20 minutes to go and kind of slice and dice and create a CSV import of the companies I want to target. And I want to know that those companies are high quality enough to actually go through the rest of this pipeline flow. So once I import the CSV, it actually kicks off the first agent, which is the company research agent. This is powered by Tavily as its primary tool, and then Claude was kind of the mind behind this agent. So Tavily is taking the companies that I provide it, it's going and researching them on the web, finding product information, job postings, things like that. And then Claude is synthesizing that information to actually build an opinion on why this company should buy my product or service and why they should buy it now. So after the company research agent synthesizes all that web kind of scraping and searching information, there's actually just a regular Python function. Now I say this kind of in it's a little more complex than that, but the idea here is this is no LLMs are being used here. it is taking the company information that Claude is outputting and running it through a Python function that actually tiers all the different companies based on, hey, here's a tier 1 account, which is, highly personalized the outreach, call them, do whatever you need to do to get in touch with them. They're ready to buy now. And then you got tier 2 and tier 3, and then also a disqualify list. So stage 2 is where we have Python functions that look at all the research and then tiers the account based on 1, 2, 3, or disqualified. Now that the accounts have been tiered, we have our human gate. The primary reason I have a human gate here is in Apollo, it is free to find and export companies. It is not free to enrich prospects within those companies and get their emails, get more information on the company as well. And so here I want to make sure that I give the agent and the LLM the exact titles within those companies that I want to target for this campaign. And so here I'll put titles like, VP of engineering, CEO, VP of sales, whatever. Now, once I pick the target titles, then that gets translated into API calls to Apollo, which will actually go and find those correct buyer personas within the accounts that have been imported in this overall pipeline. And so this is stage 3, the people finder. So really an LLM is actually taking these target titles and then translating them into Apollo API calls and then finding the right people and enriching the contact information. And then stage 4 is just regular Python code, no LLM calls. Essentially, we're taking these people and then merging them into an intermediary CSV using pandas so that we can store them. And then from here is actually the exciting part. So once we store them in a CSV, we actually kick off a parallel process where we have one agent, which is an email writer agent, which is writing a 5 email sequence. And then we have a LinkedIn writer agent, which is writing a 3 message LinkedIn campaign as well. So both of these agents spin up in parallel, and they're both writing campaigns based on the people that we pulled from Apollo. And then from here, once the 5 emails are written and the 3 LinkedIn messages are written, they actually get merged into a single CSV. There's no LLM calls here. This is just another like pandas. This is just Python functions to merge them into a single CSV. Now, once they're merged into a CSV, there's actually a review stage. So this reviewer agent, it's powered by Haiku, which is the smallest model in the Anthropic family today. It has a rubric. So I actually created a rubric on, hey, here are the gold standard emails that have got me meetings in the past. Here are the gold standard LinkedIn messages that have gotten me meetings on LinkedIn. Compare these emails and these LinkedIn messages to this rubric and then give it a score on 1 to 5. And if it is below a score of 4, I want you to rewrite the messages that did not get above a 4. So it's not rewriting the entire sequence, it's rewriting only the email or the LinkedIn message that didn't score above a 4. So this reviewer is going, if it's a 5 email sequence, it's going to review all 5 emails and give all 5 of them a score between 1 to 5. Any of them that fail the 4.0 threshold, they go to this agent, which actually revises them. But if they do have higher than a 4.0, all of this gets outputted into a CSV. And then from here, I take this CSV and I import it into something like Lemlist or Outreach to actually start executing on this campaign. Okay, so now's the fun part. Now that we know what's happening under the hood, let's actually demo this. Here's the CSV. We can drag and drop it, and then we can hit Start Pipeline. And then here it's going to actually start the first stage of the pipeline. So it's going to invoke the company research agent, which is using Tavili as its primary tool. And now it's looking at the first company in our CSV, which is Nixla, and it's looking at funding information about that company. It got 5 results. And then now it's looking at recent product launches, and then it's looking at the careers page for any open roles as well. So I'm gonna let this run because this actually takes a fairly decent amount of time, right? But it'll go through each of the different companies. So here it just finished the first one, and now it's gonna start on researching the second company, which is Klein. So I'm gonna let this go, and then I'll come back once we wrap up. Okay, so the company research agent finished, and then since the tiering part of our pipeline is actually a Python function, it automatically goes through. So you can actually see right here, it tiered 4 of the 5 companies as a tier 1 account. It tiered 1 of them as a tier 2, and then 0 tier 3s, and then 0 got disqualified. And yeah, if we actually go through this, it'll actually go through each of them. It says like, hey, I looked at funding for these companies, product launches, and then hiring as well. And then now this is the first human gate where it's actually asking for what kind of roles do I want to go after. I put in CEO, VP of sales, and head of growth. but let's actually take this out. These are just example ones, but I'm just gonna put VP of sales and let's see, director of sales and head of sales. So these are the 3 roles, and then I'm gonna hit find people. And then this is going to invoke the people finder agent. Okay, so now it found 4 prospects and it merged those 4 prospects into like an intermediary CSV. And then now it's actually writing the email and LinkedIn steps. So this is the parallel process where we have one email sequence writer and we have one LinkedIn sequence writer as well. So both these agents are writing simultaneously. And you can see it right here. It's the LinkedIn writer and the email writer are both tackling their independent sequences. So now we can see that in stage 5, 4 email and 4 LinkedIn sequences were written for all 4 of our prospects. And now we have our reviewer agent actually doing the quality review on all the different messaging for each of the individual prospects. And here you can actually see, some of them failed right here. This one also failed. So because of that, none of them actually passed and all 4 need to be revised. So this is essentially a smaller AI model actually needing and starting to revise itself. Okay, so the reviser agent finished, and now we have our final CSV. Pull it up. So we've got 4 prospects here. It looks like Render didn't have a VP of sales target. And so if you actually look here, we've got first name, last name, title, email information. And then if we go all the way to the right, we'll see the first email subject, the first email body, and then we'll see the second email body. And if we go all the way down, we'll see all 5 emails, and then here are the LinkedIn messages, and then there are the 3 LinkedIn messages. So essentially what happens next is I upload this into whatever outreach tool that I'm using, Lemlist, Outreach, SalesLoft, whatever, and then I can just do that last minute kind of like 30 seconds of QA before sending this to these people. So this is saving a ton of time. All right, guys, so that's the video for today. If you found it valuable, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm going to be talking a lot about my experience as an enterprise sales rep here. So I'll be posting a lot of videos about sales. And also, AI has really changed how we take products to market and how it's really impacting sales and marketing. And so I'm going to be posting a lot of videos on how to use sales to be way more productive, really kind of automate a lot of the mind-numbing work, and something that I've been using to really be able to sell and really punch above my weight class. So if you do like that kind of content, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. And lastly, I actually created an implementation guide for the Outbound factory. So I'll leave that in the description below. The implementation guide is something that you can feed to an AI agent, so like Claude Code or Codex, and it'll actually create the Outbound factory step by step for your own business, and you can actually implement it on your laptop. So yeah, I'll leave it in the description below if you're interested in actually creating this and running this for your business. But yeah, outside that, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.